down.
7:45, go ahead and get this,
And I want a concrete slab and feature it. And Pat has jackhammered up the floor and to put in new pipes, because the house is built in 63.
okay, Mike, let's take over.
No.
Yes. So thanks. So this is a public hearing. This is, we'll have some motions on also for you guys to vote during the regular meeting. There's several text amendment changes. One is, first one, revising chapter 6, adding text that the parking be allowed in front of the building. Right now, everybody's going to the Board of Zoning Appeals and requesting parking in front of the building. As you know, Menards, Meijer, Walmart, Lowe's, everything has parking in the front of the building, and we're granted variances for that. It just doesn't seem like a necessary thing to have in the code. So we brought that to the zoning commission's consideration, and they said that's kind of ridiculous. Like, we should allow for parking in the front. So that way they're not paying a fee going, and it's almost like a formality now of getting approved for that. So we felt that that's the first thing. Second one is temporary uses, adding a language to limit temporary uses for 90 days. This is the vendors and how many days they're allowed in a calendar year. We tossed this around probably for 3 months, 4 months, came to this conclusion, and we're still, I think at 90 days, we're the longest permit that we've seen out there. So that's that one. Oh, and Joe's Barbecue was part of it. He came to the meetings and was vocal about it, and it was good. So the next one is changing the language for the submission of drawings to us, along with the next 3. That's just trying to go all digital and have everything record-wise kept in Dropbox or iWorkQ. And then there's 2 other ones, and the big ones are the zoning map amendment proposal from GC zoning district on 43 to IC integrated commercial. This one is the Spark development. 43 has been zone general commercial for at least 20 years, and nothing's going on there. There's no water, there's no sewer. Pump station can't handle it. It's got to be upgraded. We got quite a bit of infrastructure that needs to take place. The only way I see it is to Spark development by changing it to integrated. Integrated is our hot item right now. If you go down to the other exit off 18, IC is booming. So I think zoning commission was happy with that. They concluded regional planning approved it. Then the next one is the zoning map amendment change from GC to HC along I-76 at 18. That is also the Spark development. We have abandoned buildings there, things that could be knocked down and things to be built along the highway. Makes sense that it's highway. That zoning is made for exits and entrances. And I think everybody agreed with that. But that's what the public hearing is about.
Okay. Well, you're in the public.
To the public. I think all those things are great ideas. How's that?
Good.
Opinion for the public.
Wow. Thanks for being on the board. Okay, so we're gonna have to make, since there is no more public hearing, we're gonna have to make,
Do we have to do that in the regular meeting?
At the regular meeting, you make the motions.
okay. Yeah, okay, well then, with nothing else going on, I'm gonna make a motion that we close this meeting.
I'll second that.
Yeah, those in favor, Rick?
Yes, Sue.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passed. We're closed at 7:50.
Yeah. Second.
I talked to her and his wife, and I said, well, obviously, she says, that's all a shit show. And I said, so you're about to mother, and she said, yeah, that's another shit show. She said,
Okay, 8:00.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the absolutely beautiful weather you've given us lately, and we just thank you, Lord, for just the leadership you've given us in this township. I know they're staying constantly busy to stay ahead of things, Lord. It just seems like our life is nothing but looking to the future and forward, and I know it's necessary, but Lord, help us to take time each day just to kind of enjoy what you've given us each and every day, from the things we see around us in nature to our family and friends. So Lord, just bless this meeting today, and we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you.
Okay, well, do we have any announcements or course?
I attended a meeting Monday evening. The speaker there was from the Bureau of Investigation, and she brought along this Ohio Attorney General's Office highlights from 2022. So I thought we might all enjoy getting one of those. A lot of good information in there from the Attorney General's Office. I just wanted to share. Then, let's see. We had our spring cleanup, and I just want to give a quick report. We had 57 loads come in, and the landfill dumpster was so full, we had to have Cody come in with the big buckets and squash it all down so it would be able to go on the road. I think it was a success. I look forward to doing it again next year. And we would have got a lot of stuff in there. I would have liked to have had more scrap come in, but I scrapped my own stuff, so. But anyway, it was good. It was a good thing for us. And other than that, that's my announcements and correspondence.
I did remember we had a gentleman in here about the Portage Counties, talking about his roads. So I did actually go over and spend a half an hour walking with him and taking pictures of the roads and stuff. Like everybody, they want their allotment done first, but I totally agree with Dave and his choices. I don't know, not micromanage Dave and what he does, so between him and Mike Collins, they make the right choices for Brimfield. But I also understand, there are some allotments that just don't seem to, that aren't top on the list, but, get out and walk those allotments, you definitely know them from the ground level, so. This was good, I'm glad I got to talk to him. So, do we have any more announcements or correspondence? Okay. Meeting, yes, we have none. Okay, well, I'm going to make a motion that I have reviewed the minutes, and I have signed them. I need a second.
Second.
Okay.
This is ones from 5:13, or 5:3. All those in favor, Mike?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Nate?
Abstain?
Motion passed.
It's not bad. Okay. The agenda, is there any changes to the agenda?
I have one here, under the cemetery. We've done a revision of the rules and regulations, like to present that today. And that was the only thing I wanted to talk about.
That would be, actually, we talked about that before, so that would be a 1A.
Old business?
Yeah.
Yeah. All business.
Anybody else? Okay, well, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the amended agenda with the addition of under old business A, rules and regulations.
Second,
All those in favor, Mike?
Yes.
Sue?
yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. And we'll also make a motion to acknowledge the purchase orders. I have reviewed them all.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, Mike?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes,
Nick?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. And we'll also make a motion that we approve the warrants that are reviewed and signed.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay.
John, just clarification on the purchase order or the warrants. If we're getting reimbursement for payment by employee to pick something up, should we be paying the tax on that or not paying sales tax? Because we're a tax.
We should be paying sales tax.
So there's a reimbursement check in there with sales tax,
They
yeah.
have check tax on it, we need to cut that
So, okay, so I'd like to.
She bought it at a time and didn't want to bother us, and I explained that's a reimbursable rent, because it's for the Hootsuite.
Right, yeah, no, I was fine with the purchase, I just didn't want to end up with a problem with the taxes.
We should have reimbursed her for the taxes, because it would have been a tax on purchase if we bought it.
Okay,
So I'll get that settled with her.
so I'll amend the motion to accept the warrants with the revision of removing the taxes from that check purchase.
Anybody second that, or that was?
That's an amendment to the warrant, to the motion for the warrants.
Okay. So Mike's is still good.
Correct.
All right, all those in favor, Mike? Yes. Sue?
yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, public comments and questions. Okay, hearing no comments, questions, we move to the next part of the meeting. First, are there any safety concerns out there? Safety concerns, let's jump into the police department.
Thank you, Mike. I just have a few informational items for the board this morning. The first item is something I brought up to you before, but just a reminder again that our DARE program graduation is going to be coming up on May 23rd. That's going to be at 6 o'clock p.m. at Brimfield Elementary. You're more than welcome to stop by and pay a visit for that. That event usually takes no longer than an hour, but our DARE graduation with Officer Dankel will be on the 23rd at 6 o'clock. At Brimfield Elementary. It was another good year for DARE, really good feedback from the schools on that as well. Which kind of leads into my second informational point, which is feedback on our school resource officer program for our fall 2022 to spring 23 school year. I attached a document for you guys to take a look at for that. That's just a feedback instrument that I use each year with our superintendent, just to provide feedback from him and his staff on the program and any areas maybe where we can make changes or improvements or just overall feedback on the program. And if you had a chance to take a look at that, I think it kind of speaks for itself. We got really good feedback from Dave Hefflinger and his staff on our SRO program. So I just want to tip my cap to his staff for their work and also to Brett Dinkelman for his work as the SRO. So I wanted to bring that to your attention as the board. The third item is a discussion item, which is the Civic Ready Alert System. And you may recognize that name Civic in the front because obviously we're in the process now of a project with using Civic Plus for our website project that's going on. In the course of our initial discussion during that meeting, they had mentioned that they also have an alert system, a community alert system, kind of what we're using now for Nixle. And it just caught my eye because as I was driving through Kent about 3 weeks or so ago, I noticed that Kent is using Civic Plus as their website, but they also had a notification on the board that they were using Civic Ready as your community notification platform. And I thought, well, that's interesting because we're using a similar platform website. Maybe it'd be good to get some information on what their notification system is. So I just reached out proactively to them and just had a quick Zoom meeting with them about 30 minutes yesterday just to talk through their Civic Ready Alert System and kind of some of the features that has. Simply just as an informational gathering meeting, not bringing anything to you as a board, asking you guys to make any decisions. But I thought, given the fact that we're going with Civic Plus already, the possibility of streamlining or integrating with that, since we're going to be using them for the website and how that might work might be worth exploring. So we talked through some of the features of their messaging platform. A lot of things that everything that our Nixle program does, they do. They also can do some additional things that we can't do with our current Nixle platform, as far as some mapping features, translation features. If someone signs up, you can have your messaging translated in over 60 different languages. They have integration with the website, so it's a one-stop shop for single sign-on and dashboard. So if we do something through our messaging platform, we can also have that come into our website through maybe an alert bar or messaging that integrates with our website. So the concept and thought behind it was integration, streamlining if we're going to be going with Civic Plus for the website. They have various groups and permissions, or groups that you can set up that are permission-based as well. I think that would be an interesting feature that we could take advantage of. So again, just information gathering. She gave me a rough feedback on cost for this, and if we went down this road at some point in the future, after we maybe did a future demo, we'd actually realize a cost savings, a small cost savings. But I think we're currently spending $6,150 for our Nixle platform. Their quote for us would be $6,040. So a little bit less money, but probably with some more features that we're not getting now. So just wanted to put that on your radar at some future point. If the board would decide that you want to have a demonstration done to look at this further, we can always do that. We're not married to any timelines on this at all. Maybe post website if you want to consider it. Just something I wanted to get some information on as A, maybe it gives us a few more features, and B, could it maybe save us a little bit of money.
Question, just one question on it. What would be did they talk anything about the integration? So we have all these people in the Nixle platform, we got to get them over to this.
Yeah.
Is there a way information come without having everybody reapply to it?
Yeah,
And then we can just.
that's a good point. That's a good question. We didn't get that deep in the weeds on that. You know, if there's a way that they could easily do that, would we potentially have to go through a sign-on process for this? If we decided to go to this in the future, we might. Yeah, so that's a long way of me saying I'm not sure on that piece. I think we need to follow up and find out on that, so.
So would it be an easier site for them to find, being with its built right into our website?
Well, the whole concept to me was the marriage of the platforms, right? I mean, they're all integrated. So that's what kind of caught my eye. When we had that first meeting about the website project, they also mentioned they have this notification system. I said, oh, you do? So we kind of talked through some initial stuff. So as far as integrated website, yeah, it's a one-stop shop for sign-on. So if we put out a messaging notification, we can have that integrate right with our website. The messaging can go on our website, on our social media feeds, through voice, text, email, all those things. So it just, again, just informational gathering right now more than anything else. But
Does it do weather also?
yeah, it does everything Nixle does, and from what I can see, some additional features as well. So just an FYI for today.
Are we in a contract with Nixle?
Right now, I believe we're year to year with them. That goes through the fiscal office. That's a township, comes through them. And I believe our requirement is to give them a minimum of 30-day notice. If at some point in the future you decided we wanted to make a transition.
I think we'd rather do sit down and actually see what it is.
That's out there.
Yes.
Did you like it or?
Yeah, I think that's going to be something that, you know, I know when I got the original Dog and Pony show, that was a feature that I thought would be worth, you know, bringing over to our forces and saying, hey, you know, this is something to review. Because yeah, I like the idea of everything being integrated, but I don't know what the comparison to Nixle was because I don't have any on that. So it's nice to see that it does at least meet the needs there. And yeah, so I think once we get the site going, that would be something to look at.
I think it'd be maybe a potential follow-up point, maybe at that time, once we settle the website project first, and maybe consider this as a potential add on to that. Again, we're not married to any timelines with that.
Yeah, but to add into Nick's question, unfortunately, people will have to re-register because of the new federal restrictions on SMS messaging. You have to have explicit consent to send SMS messages, and that doesn't transfer. So yes, at least for the texting feature, they would have to re-opt in. So there would be a period of it.
They use it all forward Nixle, so people, they want to go find it.
That's just a future piece. I just wanted to put it as an FYI to let you know that we had a chance to look at that and get some information on it. Nothing more than FYI.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks for it.
Okay, yep. The last item for you is, again, just an informational item. There's a letter of commendation I issued to Officer James Carosi recently for some actions he did in the line of duty as far as helping a family in need in a rather unique situation. And anytime our folks do something like that, I like to shine a light on that. And I want to share that with you guys as a board. I was just really proud of James and what he did in that and helping out that family that was in need. And I wanted to share that to you as the board as well. So.
Chief, is there any way you could refer that family to the Brimfield Community Food Cover?
I can try, we can take a look at that and see if they're, because they are a local family. They live in Stone Ridge, across from Holiday Inn, so I can do some follow-up and maybe provide them with some information. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I'll pass that along, Sue.
Do we have an informational packet, even if it's just a one-page, quarter-page flyer, something that we can hand out when we're on calls like this, with all the resources, be it the food cover, county resources? Hey, let's at least get things in your hands.
Yeah, most of what we have is going to be related to social services in the county, maybe someone needs, whether they're looking for counseling services or victims assistance, those kind of things are all resources that we have. But the food cupboard, we don't formally hand out cards, but I can think off of my head, there's been a number of times that our officers referred somebody over to the food cupboard, even without handing them a card, because they've been aware of a situation like this where they've been in need of food. So we've made some phone calls to say, hey, we're going to put you in touch with someone at the food cupboard. So that's happened, at least informally, a number of times without actually handing out a card.
Yeah, I just think in those high emotion situations, sometimes if we had something that they could take home, so they have that point of reference. I just don't know what's been created. I know the Lions Club was talking about
There was.
creating a resource.
There was some
material.
initial discussion on
I
that.
don't know where that ended at, but I think that would be something even for fire to have when you're on certain calls. If you think about it.
Darlene had come in and spoke about it at one point, but I think that was kind of their salary.
Yeah, I don't know if they ever came up with those as something that we could have as the township.
Yeah.
Provide those in the-
It's a good point. Yeah, and because we have used the resource a number of times.
Right.
But that's all I have for you this morning, unless you have any other questions for me.
We were called about, it was up a lot.
There's an ebb and flow to that.
Is what?
There's an ebb and flow to that. Sometimes you may see like vacation house watch is very contingent upon folks asking for that. If we get some people that ask for that, those numbers will go up, or if we don't have as many people ask for that, that number might fluctuate. So,
445 events, whatever you call it, consider. Okay. Thanks, Roy.
Yep.
Okay, fire departments.
Okay, you can see in front of you the calls provided from 2002 to 2003, we're on a little bit also. Past 2 week events, station build, painting, sprinkler work, electrical still being done. One of the main things they accomplished in the last couple of days is you'll see the pole light, parking lot pole lighting come up around the outside of the station. You may notice them, you may not, but they are there.
Well, while you're talking about
Yes.
this, a guy that works on roofs, stopped and talked to me and said, our roofs need some attention. And I know you mentioned it to me. He said the way they were put on was wrong. Number one, you can't put shingles on when it's 20 degrees out. And then they put 2 layers of material over the roofs, which would cause them to buckle. And what are they doing? They're all buckling. So I think.
As you know, I spoke to you, I'm well aware of that, and
I mean,
we've been talking to them about
Something's
it.
gotta be done. You can't leave it that way. I mean, they did, I mean, I don't know the roofs that much, but I do know you put shingles on when it's warm, over 45 degrees. So, it's your project.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
You know, I've made everybody aware.
you definitely can't,
I have issues with that, but
you definitely can't just let it go.
I think the architect looking at the manufacturer of I've had about a 20-minute conversation with him last Thursday. And the end result is to go to the manufacturing for our issues.
By the sounds of it, it's not the manufacturer, it's the way they were put on. When you're putting a roof on and it's 20 degrees outside. So I don't know, I've never been a roofer, I've done a lot of roofs, but I'm glad you're going to those meetings, so.
Yeah.
So, okay, I just wanted to bring that up.
Hey Greg, I just have a question. I know there was change order stuff on the 10th and 11th regarding the sprinkler stuff. Did Mario get all that resolved with?
never came through yet. You're saying that I would need to bring here?
No, I was just wondering if they decided it, because Mario was.
No, they,
a change order, then he sent something to him, and I didn't know if any.
Right, it's been going back and forth. As of last Thursday, the sprinkler people were there, and Bob was able to have a conversation with them again. So we're still.
Have you talked to Mario this week at all, or?
I don't know. Mario only comes in on Thursdays.
Are they working on the sprinklers?
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure that they got.
So the quick story is they put in an elaborate system that they didn't need, so they cut it back out, and they sent the drawings of the elaborate system back to the county, the same ones again. The county said, yeah, we already solved these ones, so now we're back to square one of why didn't they change that? That's kind of what we're saying.
Okay, I just knew they were corresponding, I know there was things back and forth, I just didn't know if they were resolved or if we're just sitting there with the sprinkler system not being
Worked on, but not resolved completely.
Okay.
John brought up one thing, do you know why they're not finishing on the bell tower? Why they have not?
No.
Okay.
Don't know.
Software.
Yeah.
There's guys working on the backside on soffit right now, so maybe they just haven't got.
Were they the same guys that would do the siding, and then the siding just put up?
I believe so.
Because they might just be working around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Scott and I went to the tour of the building. It looks good.
Just need to
Inside, yeah.
speed up.
Come on, 26th, 26th of June, come on.
I have to keep reminding myself.
Yeah.
to be here for
I
56 years.
wouldn't rush fingers for that.
I would be.
And we went, before you know it, we've been in it for a year. So.
Right, my guess
Time
is,
to go.
purely a guess, it's gonna be right around Brimfest. Probably right in there.
The fire department stuff.
Well, most of it.
Well, that is, they had 6 months on top of that for that.
Right.
All the building at least. Okay.
Workforce development program, I already have 7 to 8 candidates, so that's been going really well so far. Again, this is a process that is new to us, so I'll give you,
Have you been to the
updates
three,
as it goes.
have you been to the 3 schools we were
I have.
talking?
And I have some really promising candidates out of that. So,
Any interest in the field or?
good.
Craig, I think that's a spectacular program that you're putting together. I just want to question, if you you finished the awards that we're gonna evaluate then?
No.
You put those together?
No.
You can have 1 or 2, in case I was gonna ask you that the other day.
Probably end up being 2.
Because one was the fireman,
Yeah,
and then another.
It'll be an internal and then combo.
I should have asked these questions before, but what's your timeline now? I know they get the.
Well, looking at, sitting back and looking at fire schooling, which would be probably first on the list, starts September 5th. So by August, that would be
Okay.
a good,
Cool. I think that's a
good
spectacular way to-
non-rush way to do it. So,
spectacular way to attract firemen, fill hours at the station that we don't deal with time for. I think it's a big win for all of us.
yeah, no, the first class was May 22nd, not happening. So then it becomes September 5th, so that's okay. That pushes us out a little bit.
Okay.
And I'll give you, trustee meeting updates as it goes, because again, this is all new and I'm building this as I go.
Maplewood's also expressed interest with their student population, so it's another opportunity for us.
Upcoming events on May 26th, we'll meet at the Brimfield Elementary to show off emergency vehicles to the first grade classrooms. They've scheduled us for that, so we're excited to do that. And
What time?
what time? 10 to 11 a.m. And that's all we got going.
Good. Okay, administration, so this best benefits club is yours.
No, it's John's.
Yeah, it's I just want to make sure that I'm ready for the fiscal. It's a best benefit club that was brought to us by Holly. It's a free program that they offer out to any of the clients that she participates in this group. It's a discount program for restaurants, for Cedar Point, for, there's a whole list of them that we can go to. So just want to make sure we balance this is the benefit that we're offering. It doesn't contradict anything, it's just a flyer discounts and it was emailed out there. But it's
Years ago, the area had what they called the entertainment. The book was about this thick, yeah, similar. Yeah, the entertainment club. I don't know that they do it anymore, but I did like you.
Yeah.
But,
Well, they have recruitment options in there, and they're all,
Yeah,
it's
all
all,
different kinds
it's
of
all free.
and it's free for our employees.
So, you got the email out to everybody, so if you wanna look up the code to see how you receive the free coupons and all that stuff is in there. So,
Okay.
does not. At Cedar Point though, what is it, 105 now for a visit there one day? Jeez.
All I need is a pass to when we get the french fries. 'Cause I want to-
Cost you 105 to get in and go have a french fries.
Okay.
That's all I had under, and I just have under fiscal office.
Under admin, just a point of discussion, I don't think it need to be on the agenda. Charles emailed me again on the library, just this morning, right before the meeting started. They're 97% complete on the drawings. He wants to bring something in next week, John. I don't know who he needs to bring it to, because he needs information on, insurance information, bidding and insurance information that needs to go into the proposal. So do you want him to bring that to you?
Yeah,
Okay.
we just have to, we'll get Wendy on the phone, Wendy French on the phone, my HR questions.
Okay. So I don't know, this project's taking way longer. I don't know what the holdup is from the Oak Group, but
So you have it all every week and return calls.
I'm emailing and not getting any return emails. So I keep telling them these meetings, we need updates. I don't know.
And are you waiting on plans for that?
Yeah.
Okay, you gotta use that money up.
So, but he claims this, I mean, last time he said he was 95%, and that was a month ago.
Well, I was waiting for him to call me back and he, wrote the thing, I never heard back from him about that either, so.
Because the library is kind of, Portage County Library is in this holding pattern. 'Cause they got their money. What's that?
We're supposed to be open right now, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it was supposed to be open like 2 months ago. They're in this holding pattern with their money, and they have to subcontract out for the books and the furniture, and so they got this other company in the holding pattern now. And we don't even have the drawing out for bid yet.
We need to beat him down.
Right.
And I'll go back with that email to him and tell him that I need to hear from him back next week, because I got that too.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we followed up. As soon as he emails, I like to respond to him, so it's not on our end.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Mike, zoning, Victor.
Thanks, Mike. The first thing I have is a request, a motion for the trustees to send 496 Talmadge Road to the prosecutor's office for further action. This is the abandoned hot tub building there next to the freeway on 18. We've had several violations going past the past 2 years, from campers to mattresses, and then they clean it up and then, yeah. So then now it's got mattresses out there again. We sent 2 violation letters to them on those mattresses. So I'd like the prosecutor to follow up on that one,
So you need a motion?
please.
Make a motion that we send a letter to the prosecutors on 496 Talmadge Road for further action.
I'll second
Good, I'm glad you did, because I told Mike I got a complaint on it the other day too.
Yeah,
So,
I get complaints.
Roy, didn't you guys have problems with sweaters for a while there? In the garage?
Yeah,
There
maybe,
was a guy living in there for a while.
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's ringing a
Yeah,
bell.
who knows if anybody's in the back there, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
See into the back.
You don't know.
Yeah, it's an eyesore for sure.
good, I'm glad you did that. Okay. You just need a roll call.
All those in favor, Mike?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. I have several other items for motion and votes from the trustees. The first one is the text amendment change, revised Chapter 6, Code Section 600.04.02.A. Add text that will allow parking in the front of the building. We had a public hearing on this morning.
Well, are we gonna do a motion on each one separately?
Yes, each one
I'd like to
separately.
make that motion.
I will second.
All those in favor, Mike?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes,
Yes.
Motion passed.
I'd like to make a motion,
Well, let Mike.
oh, sorry,
Okay, the next one is the text amendment change, revised Chapter 5, Section 540.00, temporary uses, add language to limit temporary use permits to 90 days per calendar year.
so moved.
I'll second.
Discussion. On this one, so this is any vendor has total 90 days per calendar year,
Correct.
and they cannot reapply till the following calendar year.
Yes, yes. And we talked about that at zoning commission. Somebody can come in at the end of the year, get a permit the last 3 months, and then the first 3 months. So it could be a 6-month period, or it looks like a 6-month period,
Okay.
but we're keeping it that way. I mean,
Do they have to physically move off the location, or can they just close for a period of time?
they have to, so it's a 90-day continuous permit, and then that's it for the year. So if they could do, say, June, July, August, have the 90-day permit, and then that's it for the year.
But do they have to remove their stuff from the property?
Yes,
or
they do.
Just close down?
No, they have to remove the stuff from the property.
This is similar to municipalities
We pulled municipalities, townships, we spent like 3-4 months. Bill's here from the zoning commission as well. We researched this to death. I mean, we still are the longest, so from what we see, we're the longest permit out there right now.
Will we see an increase, were there multiple vendors staying past 90 days?
No.
Okay, so this was, because I know this was originally brought because of one vendor to the board.
It was brought up to the board here from a citizen in the audience, and then you guys passed it on to the zoning commission, so we looked into it. We made it for everybody. We didn't want to isolate, that one. And we were making it very clear at the zoning commission that wasn't the point. We discussed, what else could come in and some of the things that happened in other municipalities that didn't have this rule. And that was what held us up. And of course, that one vendor was involved, and he attended, I believe, every meeting we had. And he's in the works as well, of building a building. So
I just worry about the adverse effects, and
I
that
think
was
there was-
directed that way
There was
originally.
complaints about another location up there in the town center.
Right.
So it's not just one.
there's one diagonal that was staying longer at the time, but he's now gone. Yeah.
Doing it because of one vendor, because it wasn't. It's just what had to be done in the township.
And we ran this, so the initial stuff, so we weren't doing it and isolating anything. We ran everything through Mark Adetti. Mark gave us the language and then went to regional planning and then came back from regional planning, but we didn't want to isolate anything. So we covered our bases that way.
And then, does this have 30-day cooling off period before it takes effect?
Correct.
So this would take effect, in essence, June 17th.
Correct.
And then any business would have 90 days remaining in this calendar.
And for example, that vendor has a permit now. I think it's valid till July or August, and then he's got the right to apply for another 90-day this year.
Okay, discussion good?
Yep.
All those in favor, Mike?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Nick?
No.
Motion passed.
The next item I have is a text amendment change, chapter 2. This is section 201.03.C. Change language of one copy of site drawings along with electronic submission to the zoning department. This is to eliminate all the amount of drawings. I mean, when I first came in, I believe we had 750 drawings in that back shed by the fire department that we had scanned in. And a lot of them were duplicate. They weren't all this, different. It was many copies of the same thing in certain circumstances. So with that being said, we just like one copy for record to follow the state records retention law. And then after that, everything else is submitted electronically. So we could either keep it in drop or iWorkQ or whatever it fits into. So.
Well, I will go ahead and make that motion.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, Mike?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Same thing, but the next one is a text amendment change, chapter 2, section 201.03C1, change language of one copy of architectural plans along with electronic submission to the zoning department. And it's the same thing.
So moved.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, Mike?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Next one is the text amendment change, chapter 2, section 201.03C2, change language of one copy of site plans along with electronic submission to the zoning department.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, Mike?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Next item I have is the zoning map amendment change, proposal to change GC zoning district along State Route 43 to IC integrated commercial.
So moved.
I will second that. Any discussion?
Yeah, I was gonna ask,
Sure.
where along 43, kind of just for point of reference?
So I have maps for you. That's that whole section you see in red.
That GC is gonna become,
IC. So the uses in the general commercial district are going to be allowed in the IC district. Some are going to be conditional uses, of course, to go to the BZA. But this also creates a mixed use where we allow residential as well. So we can do a mixed use of, you see it in Kent where they have residential above, commercial below. That's going to allow for this type of atmosphere. And we had a vision with the zoning commission, and we're hoping to see it continue all the way into Kent. We've even discussed adding further language if this passes today, mandatory for sidewalks, certain kind of street lighting going all the way from the town center all the way into Kent, and putting that into our resolution.
I have that for discussion. I just want to share that I've had conversation with a resident with this change. I realize nothing has happened with that area for over 20 years. It's just a real stalemate. I explained that to them. And anyway, they were concerned about when this begins developing, how it's going to affect our police department and our roads and our fire department for the increased workload that they're going to have. And I realize too that we're in a growth area here, and if we don't improve that along that, then we've missed out a lot with JED funds coming into our coffers and other things too. So it looks kind of ratty out along that stretch. But I did assure them that I would give that opinion at the board when we talked about this.
Sure.
Changing that. I realize that regional planning has put their input in here also and approved what we would like to do.
Yes.
Without these JEDs, the JED revenue increasing, this is what keeps, I know I heard some things about, some of the, I was reading the minutes for some of the JED board, and I just gotta make sure that we are doing this in a responsible way, because you guys are getting fire, police, roads is getting 30% of that money. So department has to budget for that. I know you say, that your service, your demand for services is exceeding your budget. I mean, that's what I'm suggesting about getting from the minutes. But I mean, I'm not saying that now fire, but you only had 46 more calls. Do percentages, do the numbers on 30 days. I mean, you guys, no matter what, you have to realize that money, as it increases, your department gets more money. So, I mean, we can't be, I'll be the last one going back to the voters and asking money. If I find out people aren't spending it wisely. So, let's just remember, more money that comes into the JED, the more money you guys get in your coffers, period. So.
I just think we have to be careful with the amount of growth, because yes, the JED does create additional funding, but not to the extent that it covers the costs. If you need to upgrade, let's use fire for the example, because that's what was brought to the table. You need more staffing, it's more staffing times 3. It's not just hire one person, we're good because we have 3 shifts. So you're looking at $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. The Brimfield Kent JED doesn't bring in nearly that amount of money to cover a $300,000 increase total, let alone splitting it 30, 30, 30.
Of course it doesn't, because we have no businesses in there. Look at 41%.
Right.
So, unless, get the.
We'd have to bring in $1 million on that to break even. That would be my concern with that.
I just, just make sure when you guys are at these meetings, that we're talking not for one trustee or one fire chief, you're talking for the whole board. We need to represent the township as a whole, because there's 3 trustees, not 1 trustee, there's not 1 chief.
Correct.
So.
And the same goes for the townman's JED also, Chair.
Right, and whatever on the township, I don't speak for 1 person, I speak for all of us.
And I speak for the board looking for opportunities. If you read those minutes all the way through, you'd see there's also discussion about how we can get water on down. 43 to help with the development.
We're all on the same page, because 1,200 feet back is always been for development, so just we move forward. After that JED hits at 2%, unless we get more business into this town, the JED fees aren't gonna go up. And with Amazon taking over the world, I mean, there's gonna be less and less opportunities. I mean, as Mike and I talked, I mean, the end of the big box store day is over.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to look for 20 years down the road, laying on a beach, not worrying about Brimfield.
So with the integrated commercial, you say it allows housing. Is it gonna allow individual housing, or does it have to be a housing business mixture on that partial?
No, it could allow, so the integrated commercial code I brought with me, hold on. I can tell you. It does allow for housing as well. And it's the same as what we have down by Maple Crest, the Menards, Meyer, all that is integrated commercial.
So we could end up with 2, 3-story apartment complexes in there also?
You could. It says the purpose of the integrated commercial zoning district is to accommodate multi-purpose retail, business, office, high-density residential development with regulations designed to minimize disruption to adequate level of traffic flow along with those major roads serving the permitted activities. This district is intended to serve the commercial needs of the community in our region and provide for business and professional office facilities, hotels, convention, and conference centers, as well as high-density residential developments. But you also allow for the commercial uses, banks, food and prep, personal establishments, retail establishments, nurseries, gift shops, greenhouses, drugstores, electronic stores, studios, theaters, mixed uses. What this also does, and what the board and I discussed, is because of the section that's in here that allows for the residential as well as the greenhouses and other things, most of your businesses and your residential will now be conforming instead of non-conforming uses. So when they apply for a loan at the bank or things of that nature, it's not going to be denied. And we've had complaints that go all the way up to the regional planning commission level, stating that they can't improve on their properties because they're non-conforming uses.
And a lot of that was all Kent State property.
Yeah, and what you have there.
They do a lot of the same.
Yeah, and what you have there now is a bunch of non-conforming uses that, when you look at it from a planning standpoint, it is an integrated commercial because you have a mix of residential and commercial there now. So.
Do you think Brimfield, all that land that's over there, it's all Kent State, are they selling that possibly or getting rid of it?
They're selling it.
Is there any other land that they own over there that would help if we start developing housing from Kent State on 261, or is there?
They have land. A lot of it is wet. The back acreage is wet. It's going to be probably, if they're building, in Brimfield, it's going to be front loaded off of State Route 43. The majority of the land behind is going to be kind of dead. I mean, it's all wetlands.
I just didn't know if all the housing, I didn't know what they were even planning with that land, if it was housing or if it would.
We have a developer interested. Well, we've had 3 or 4 developers interested in that Kent State property, and there's a wide variety of uses that they've discussed, but nothing.
If we put housing that's over there, does that maybe get Kent State put another building on the other side of 261 that's been in university, or is that all going to be on?
No, that's on theirs. So, but as far as ours is concerned, the point is to spark big development as well. Somebody that's willing to upgrade a pump station, because the pump station as it is, and right now, regardless if you bring water or not, that pump station will not handle any future development going down State Road. So we have two problems. One is looking into development and offering a TIF to somebody willing to develop, bring water, and upgrade the pump station, I think is going to be crucial. That TIF would have to be specific to do that, as well as the water. So if we could bring water and spark development in key points of State Route 43, the in-betweens will fill in, but I need 2 areas. The other option is we help fund the water, and whether that's Kent or us, or I don't see that happening. I just don't foresee it happening in the next 5 years. So in order to spark development, I think this is needed.
I just don't understand why Portage County or Kent won't do it, because they're the ones that will be making money for years and years and years.
I scratch my head, and we talk about this at the zoning commission almost every time. We have no idea how that road got widened without proper infrastructure as far as sewage and water. We have sewer in many spots there, but it can't handle it, so you can't tie in. So without that upgraded pump station, things are gonna happen.
I remember when I looked over the plans, the guy from Penn State, I mean, they had grand plans for that whole thing.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
remember, I think they were gonna put a road where the outpost was branching off, that would connect to the road access off 261.
Yeah.
And they had plans of building things on both sides.
I think had they brought water down, I mean, I've never seen it where they expand and not bring water, but this is kind of unique, and everybody that comes in the area doesn't, we all scratch our head, why didn't they run the water? But maybe it was to not have growth at that point, and maybe
Right,
there was a
remember,
reason.
that's when we pushed hard to try to do that, but he didn't know that way.
Yeah, I think the only way I foresee doing it is development in getting developers and spark interest and start bringing it down.
Right. Okay. Good discussion.
How far past the Mike's Restaurant and Bob Evans and all that, the old development of the possible mall with the ball and all that, is that all Kent or is that?
That's all Kent up to Malloy,
I just didn't know how far over that.
all the way to Malloy, right where Welcome to Brimfield sign is. That's where we start. And we had conversations with what is it? What's her name with Parks? I'm sorry, Chris. Am I saying it? Okay, Chris. We had conversations with her as well as ODNR, and we've had meetings with them. There was some concern with the bats and lighting districts and things like that we'll be looking into in the future too, just to make sure that we're not screwing up the environment down State Road 43 as well. But those are the things that are forthcoming after this.
43 is got to be an attractive piece. And the amount of cars that go down that road is got to be crazy.
Yes.
I just worry about housing is my big concern, just not pushing any more apartment complexes, those sorts of pieces. That's always my concern. I think IC fits well there. I always have a fear in the back of my mind of we end up with a large apartment complex or something down there. I think that's the last thing we need.
And there's always something, we could always change the code with resolution. If you're going to bring it, it's got to be a mixed use. We could always look into the code once this.
A mixed use of an apartment complex would be like Talmadge where they have the restaurants below that.
Yeah, we could tweak this, we could tweak the language in the IC code to do that. Absolutely can.
So this will just at least get it put up.
This gets it on the books and then we could start
We
changing.
can build from there.
Yeah, correct.
I mean, that would be a sub-recommendation for me is that we start to explore those options. I just don't want to see somebody buy that and say, oh, look, I can fit 5 apartment complexes in here. And with this boom of residents and, it just comes with additional problems. It's not going to bring in the jet revenue. Then we're going to have an increase in population, not an increase in
Right.
funding. And the police and fire looking at us going, well, how do we handle this now?
I think that was the vision of the zoning commission. I don't want to speak for them, but from all the feedback coming from the zoning commission, they want to see that mixed use with walkways and lighting going into Kent. We're redoing master plan as we speak, our comprehensive land use plan, making these changes along with it. That's going to be finished by the end of the year. So these coincide, these changes. But we're looking at eliminating districts. We might be eliminating the whole GC district because there's only going to be one section of it from here on out. With that being said, our high-end density we've discussed as our R4 district, which is going to be, we'll make some tweaks where that's going to be the highest density. And then IC won't be your highest density. We can actually do revisions. And if you're going to put apartments in, it's got to be mixed use and make that language change. But if the board would like to make the motion and pass this, and then make a second motion to give it to the zoning commission to explore the possibilities of changing that code, I'd appreciate that.
I think that's the best course of action. That would make me feel better.
Yeah,
Because,
you make that motion when we get down.
okay.
Well, we still have,
So we have the active motion on the floor to change GC along 43 to IC, so you need to vote on that.
all those in favor, Mike? Yes. Sue?
Yes,
Yes.
Motion passes.
then we make the next.
So I'd like to make a motion to send to the zoning commission to review the IC district for changes with high density population to ensure partials require mixed use so that it can't be solely apartment. taxes.
I'll second it.
Say that one more time.
Um,
Request the zoning
Commission to review the integrated commercial district, high-density residential section to be changed to mixed use and not allow single partial apartments or high-density residential.
Let's see a second. All right, all those in favor, Mike? Yes. Sue?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. The last item I have is the zoning map amendment change proposal from GC zoning district near I-76 along Talmadge Road to Highway Commercial District. We have, abandoned building there that we're sending to the prosecutor's office, and we have vacant land for sale. And then as you cross the freeway, there's some sections that need some help. Jarrett Fleet is across the street, which is a non-conforming use in the district. So in looking into this, if we make it highway commercial, Jarrett Fleet becomes conforming, and it sparks development for the other areas. I know there was, several developers talking about many items, as well as Claiborne owns that property up on that hill there that have never been able to build a new automobile sales place. This would allow for that now. There's several items that can happen there, and we'd like to spark the development there, get rid of the abandoned buildings.
Motion for discussion. I'll make the motion to change GC zoning district near 76 along Talmadge Road to HC highway commercial.
Second.
My only question on that is you're going down Talmadge, Mike, and you're heading
Yeah.
Into Talmadge. On the left side, you have RJ's, you have the Carpet Place. Are they all going to still be conforming then under the highway commercial or not?
Actually, RJ's is non-conforming right now and will become conforming with this move.
Like I said, also there's other businesses in the back. There's that Mark's Custom Carpet. There's a couple other businesses. Are they going to still be within the?
They'll still be okay. Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
There's a couple. There's the piping place with the outdoor storage. I don't know how that worked out, but that might be not conforming as long as the outdoor storage is still there. But it has a right to exist. So any kind of automobile repair shops, any kind of sales, anything like that is restricted now to the highway commercial district. So RG's now has a chance to even buy property and build in some of the land that's available there now. But right now he's kind of stuck. If he wanted to move, there's nowhere to go. So this allows him as well to expand or move into a different spot.
I just want to make sure we weren't putting anybody out.
No, I think we're helping him out with this.
Well, Mike, I just had a general question here now that you said, all of that, car dealerships, all those kinds of things would be restricted to highway commercial.
Correct.
With our changing of GC, I know certain people, when you're there, but some of those car lots on now, did those go away if they go out of business?
They have to be out of business for 2 years. So that there was one that actually went out of business for a year on State Route 43, and then it came back as another used car lot, but it has to be gone for 2 years.
And then after that, it's restricted for them to.
After that, it's got to follow whatever the zoning district is.
Okay, I was just concerned, there's a couple of those, there's 2 or 3 of them that fall within the general commercial area, and if they're only allowed in highway commercial, then they would be out.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Yes, we had a motion on the floor, all those in favor, Mike? Yes. Sue?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Then the last is good news. Aldi's is set to open May 18th tomorrow. They have a soft opening today, and everybody's invited to come after the meeting here. If you'd like to join us, Bob and Dan and Beth Ward will be there. There's not an official ribbon cutting, but we're all going to be there to take pictures. So everybody's welcome.
Great. Okay, thanks, Mike.
Sure.
Okay, road department, I guess I'm just gonna read these out. cemetery, and road.
If I can add to that, I know they were doing all kinds of work yesterday, so all of them are out there doing, for the Eckers race and doing a lot of general cleanup for the stuff, so.
Okay, Cassie.
Great. My first item is the Mester Acres barn demolition update. I'm happy to report that the barn is gone. The scrap is all gone, the tires have been cleaned up, and the hay has been put down, grass seed has been planted, and it looks like it was never there. It's beautiful there. So if you get the chance, please stop by and look at it. It's really great to see that progress. It's been something that's been on my list for a long time. So happy to see that. And then I have an item for board approval. I have been seeking quotes for lake management at McGuire Park. I really wanted to get started on this because I don't want to let the lake go, to get to a point where it needs some serious overhauling when we are ready to open the park. So I got quotes from 3 different companies, Aquedoc, Lake Doctors, and Solitude Lake Management. You'll see that I included a comparison chart for you guys with some of the major issues, just to do like a side-by-side. And it was my conclusion, I met with all 3 companies in person and talked to all of them and received quotes. And it was my conclusion that Lake Doctors had the best program. Not only did they have the best price, but in my opinion, they had the best customer service. They were very responsive to my questions, and they came out very quickly to give me a quote. So they gave us a quote for the regular lake treatment, which would include like removal of weeds and that kind of stuff. But then also they gave us a quote for the addition of muck biotics, which is like a muck digester. It gets rid of the organic matter on the bottom of the lake, which will increase like the oxygen levels and the depth of the lake, which would be really great if we decide to stock the lake with fish later on. It's a pretty shallow lake anyway, so if we can increase the depth in any way, that would be great too. So,
I don't want
oh,
to
go
put
ahead.
on anything, but I'm still in the process of trying to figure out the TIF money and how much money's coming over there, so I know it's that time of year, but I would much rather table this for 2 more weeks, just so I know Mike was checking on some things, and I have to figure out what funding's coming from the McGuire Park. Maple Crest 1, right?
So 2 is already allowed to go to the park. Maple Crest 2. 1 is the one that you're receiving the money on now, and the 5% back to the township.
How long's 2 gonna take?
And it's about a year behind because you got Hamrick manufacturing in 2.
Was 19,000 the estimated number that they gave us, or
That
was
was
the actual number that we got?
19,000 because you're always in arrear. So 19,000 was the initial start when Meyer first opened, and then after that, so you got that money just when Meyer opened, then you got all the fast food and then Menards.
So we haven't got.
So that's going to increase next year. No, you'll get that next year.
And what estimates did he get back to you on what estimates he was giving you for that increase? I mean, with all the new restaurants and all that?
Yeah, I mean, with the initial amortization schedule of the TIF is, I think we were getting 5 times the amount we planned. So, but that's until
Well, if we could, I just want to make sure of that and just figure out exactly, I want to make sure that we have that money in the TIF going there, because $8,000's a lot, but I don't want to take it out of the general fund right now when I know there's going to be money sitting in there for the TIF money. I want to take it out of there so we can save the general money for anything else.
Yeah.
If you're okay, you're all right with just table it for 2 weeks so I can figure out exactly where all that
Just
is.
remember, every week's going to go by and it's harder to take care of it, so that's why.
I know.
Even if they did it on a monthly payment, that you could sign, I just hate that.
What is
I know lakes, and
what
I
is-
know how fast they turn.
what's the anticipated cost on this?
So if we did both the muck biotics and the seasonal maintenance, it would be a total cost of $7,788 for 6 months for the entire season.
You have to have muck tablets.
Yes.
Because there's a weed called Limbia, that starts taking place, it blows up and it makes the pond terrible.
And they went out in the boats and they determined there is quite a bit of sediment and muck on the bottom of the lake already. This does break down to $798 per month for just the regular treatment. But the muck biotics is a straight $3,000 per season. So
How many acres is that pond?
6.
6 acres.
I don't think holding off 2
I
weeks
mean,
would be.
John, with it being colder lately, I mean, once that temperature gets over 80 degrees, that's when stuff starts growing like crazy. So you probably got to,
But see, the problem with the TIF is that there's restricted spending for that. And let's say all of a sudden I got a big chunk of money in there and it's restricted for the park and I've used all this
Right,
money over here, I can't take that TIF money and then go spend it on the road crew project because it wasn't identified in the TIF. So I just wanna make sure all those funds from the wire are going into that TIF and that we have enough to proceed with all that, because the road is one of those issues too, that would have to be brought out of the TIF.
So I think you're,
Entrance to the wire.
yeah, I think you're gonna need some legal language on the first tip. Because the first tip is kind of rigid with what you could spend the money on, and we could alter that. You'd need, to go back to the prosecutor's office and amend it, so you amend it here at the trustee level. And it would just be the revenue sharing portion of the tip. So the language in the revenue sharing portion, you'd state, hey, we need it, and if you want to broaden the horizon to road and park, put that language, approve it at the trustee level, and then send it off to the county commissioners just to approve the revenue. Not the TIF. The TIF stays the same. You can't alter the TIF now, but the revenue sharing agreement you can.
With that.
And I think that would be smart, because you're either going to lock in the parks, because you could either lock in the parks for 30 years, or you could make it versatile for, once the park's built in 10 years, then you switch it over to roads or fire and police or whatever.
Even because when that road in there, entrance, that's gonna be a road project, that won't be part of the parks.
Right.
So I don't wanna put that on Dave to build this road.
Well, yeah, and we can certainly, so right now, as it stands, without altering the revenue sharing agreement, we can take the phase 1 portion of that tip, I believe, and start using it for the road across. Yeah, because it would directly affect the TIF portion of the land. So, if your infrastructure or roads or anything, that's certainly in it right now, but road garage or anything like that
No,
wouldn't be in
I'm
it.
just thinking more of the road, the access point to be in there.
Yeah, I believe,
Put the road in to get back to
I
the
believe-
parking lot in.
yeah, I believe your first TIF would allow for that.
I just worry about if we have to send anything to the commissioners. I mean, hopefully they vote yes on it, but they still hold that power over us too, so I don't want to gamble on us doing a revenue sharing change. Goes to the commissioners, and then it's not approved at the commissioner level.
But I believe we could use it for the road now. And then for the second TIF could be used for the park.
I just wanna make sure all
Can
that's
we get-
in writing so that I don't approve it and all of a sudden I find out it wasn't available for roads and I spent TIF money on something.
Can we get it in writing from the attorney, like a letter from the attorney saying, based on a review of this is what we can use it for?
Well, we did for 2. So I got that from Mark. Mark sent that off, and Cassie, you got a copy of it. He's already approved the second TIF in the TIF
But
language.
we haven't gotten that money in yet.
No, that's not until next year. So if we want to go to 1, I'll just get a letter from Mark.
Can you have them put that together?
Yeah,
Explaining on what one can be used. for.
correct.
Because they don't want to get caught with another audit piece saying, well, the auditor's
Spend it on
found
the wrong
out
spot.
Right.
Again, so we've had a lot of those, just those little pieces. I don't want to see us have again.
But I think that too. So I'll be able to, I just wanna make sure. So
Sure.
we table this.
And we were proactive on that. I wanted the same thing. That's why we did that on 2, because we knew 2 listed the park, but I
Yeah.
wanted, before expenditure, any kind of money, because the state's gonna look at this. It'll be a separate audit, other than the audit here, the TIF money gets audited separately. So you want to make sure that you're covering all your bases.
Right, yeah, so that's what I want.
We have a dollar amount the total and she has approved, I don't know where she can spend it, but McGuire Park is not part of that, and I just wanna make sure that. I don't wanna get dinged, because I spent it on this and then tier 1 said it
Correct.
was on roads, and I didn't spend it, I'm not,
I'll just concerned when that temperature goes up, we gotta, once you.
2 weeks, and then I will, if you wanna even have a special meeting, if we figure that out, then we can do that, I just wanna.
And keep in mind that the first TIF too has police and fire personnel in that too. So you want to make sure that stays within that TIF too.
Can you get that from Mark, and then we can go through it with him, just to make sure I know exactly where this, for 1 is going?
Yes.
So that, okay, because if I already got paid last year the 19,000, that was in 22. There's a bit weird. Am I getting another draw in 23 from that, was that the beginning of the year that I got that, 19? I just want to double check that.
Okay.
if we can table that until next meeting, that'd be appreciated.
Sure.
Sorry.
Oh, no problem. And then just a couple updates, past programs, Sue already mentioned, the spring cleanup event this weekend went very well. Thank you to Sue and Pat and the road department for handling that. It's a great event and we'll definitely do it again next year. And then just upcoming programs on the 19th, this Friday, we're having a warbler walk, a birding walk at 8:30 a.m. at Cranberry Creek Park. Next Thursday, we are having our McGuire Park preview hike. I know Dave went over there and mowed already for us. On June 2nd, myself and several of the other park districts in Portage County will be having a joint summer celebration program at Ravenna City Park, where we'll be showcasing our beautiful parks and all the things we have to offer. And then on 6/17, Saturday 6/17, that is Touch a Truck from 11 to 2 at Lions Park. And that is all.
Cassie, on the upcoming programs, I just lost it here. The movie, can you give me an update on what the movie thing was? Because I saw we spent like almost $2,000 on that whole project between Game Craze, Swank Motion, and Funflix.
Yes.
Or what is that for July 8th? What is that?
So we are doing that movie in lieu of our fall movie that we usually do during the Trunk or Treat Fall Harvest Program. We're just moving it to July this year because we haven't gotten the best attendance. It'll be Finding Nemo. I wasn't supposed to announce it quite yet, but now that we've paid for the movie rights and things, we'll be doing the Finding Nemo movie night.
And that's gonna be down at Lions Park?
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Did they bring the screen and everything?
Mm-hmm.
Bar screen?
Yes. Yeah, they've done it. They've done 2 movie nights for us before, and we've gotten okay attendance. But usually the weather keeps people away, so I'm hoping the warmer weather will be better for that.
What was Game Craze for then? Is that like just a separate thing they're doing? as part of it?
That Game Craze bought Funflix, I believe.
Because there's a check for Funflix for $798, there's a check to Swank Motion for $480, and then a check to Game Craze for $399.
There should only be the $399 should be the down payment for. I'll check with person with that. That's half of it.
She
So
should have paid the second half,
yeah, I think that's what happened.
because we're waiting for it has to be done, and we're
Yes.
saying we should pay the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I asked her to pay the first one. But
Okay.
there was supposed to be a down payment of $399.
Okay, that's what I was just trying to figure out, because they were in different names too, which
Yeah.
kind of threw everything up. I'm like, what's happening? But I just thought maybe we were bringing in maybe out house or something, which would have been fine,
Yeah.
but I was trying to figure out how we got to that point.
Yeah, I think this.
I checked the names, but that one was a down payment, and then payable upon the completion of the event.
Okay.
Yeah.
The rest.
Yeah, I think there was just some confusion.
Let's just check that.
Okay.
Get back. We'll check on it, make sure we're not
Sure.
paying somebody, different company names or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a great program, I was just trying to figure out why we had the 3 companies.
Sure. Yep.
Thank you.
IT.
Okay, I would like to continue discussing the fiber internet project. So originally, we voted to move forward with Spectrum, and then I asked to have that vote rescinded, or whatever the proper term for that is, because I feel we're gonna get a better deal with AT&T fiber. So I brought that up at our last meeting. You guys had me look into some other things, because one of the other areas I was looking at is using AT&T for our cellular service. So I had a meeting with AT&T last week. Myself and Captain Atkins was part of that meeting to discuss AT&T wireless, providing the township with wireless services. So what I feel that actually is going to be a good thing for the township. So I want to discuss moving forward with AT&T fiber internet, and possibly my recommendation is to move forward with AT&T for our wireless services also. So do we want to talk about the fiber internet first, or wireless, or all at once? Because I kind of want
Why
to.
don't you talk about it all at once? This is your, be your motion that you want to switch.
Well,
Yes.
there's 2 separate motions, so
Yeah,
we
it's
should probably cover fiber first and then.
Okay.
Two separate agenda items.
One second though. You didn't talk yet?
Joe and I met, we discussed that, I thought we left it, we were gonna explore options.
Yes, the challenge is that the internet we have going into the building, I don't feel is going to meet our needs for too much longer. It's really glorified residential internet and cable internet. With
I get that. He brought up the other day your tablets and your phone. Are those all?
Well, that's under the cell service piece, so that'll be the second discussion.
yeah,
I thought it was all part of the same kind of concept.
yeah.
You discussed everything you needed, though, I asked you, and it seemed like you hadn't talked about it.
No, so Joe and I met, we discussed that, that I expressed my concerns of going from 200 to 1,800 and how that was gonna be split, as we discussed. I thought we left it at, you were gonna look at whether it could be split or how that would work. and bring it back to me.
With the agreement we have with AT&T, we can't not put fiber in the other building. The agreement with AT&T is put fiber in both buildings. We could take it down to a lower speed, but the savings really wouldn't be too much. Even if we brought it to a lower savings, we'd be saving $180 per month. So to go to a slower speed at the fire department / town hall, we really wouldn't be saving enough money to not do it. So sticking with the current proposal of 500 by 500 in both buildings, I feel is the best bet. I don't think that it's, talking with Captain Atkins, he really wants to move forward with doing the fiber in the police department, getting off of that connection. It's a more secure, more stable, and to get the pricing competitive. And as I say, my recommendation for the township is to move forward with both sides. I don't think it's a good direction to continue going with coax internet. We're doing a lot of stuff across the internet, all of our phones across the internet now. We're continuing to move forward with internet-based solutions. Everything we do is either Dropbox or emails in the cloud. A lot of your supplemental services, go across the internet. I know you got that really nice smart board in your that in the sitting room where you're seeing all your dispatch stuff. That's all internet driven. So as we move forward as a township, we're going to need more and more bandwidth.
I would agree with all that stuff, but okay, what your concern was the additional cost of the fire department. So those are two different issues in regards to what we need. I think about that new building over there, that we're not moving old furniture into there from our old places. We're gonna replace all that. Is this the time that I believe it is to replace all those things to make sure? Because some of them are gonna become obsolete down the road.
Yes.
And we're gonna have to switch anyways, kind of like AT&T did with the phone lines. So I guess it comes down to maybe just the fact that your budget your cost might have to go up at the fire for that, to get that. So
What's gonna be the distribution of cost? Is it 50% the fire, 50% the police? Or is police picking up 50%, fires?
25.
Okay, so fire's gonna get 25%.
General fund's gonna give it 25, and police, because it's going into two different buildings.
What happened to the idea of just doing the single line? So I feel like we're at the low tier. We were talking about bringing in the single line, and then now we're talking about bringing in two lines. So there's like three different tiers that we're working with here.
The
Is this more than
AT&T matched Spectrum's bid. So
Okay.
Spectrum was doing the one internet connection to the police department and then a private fiber into the fire. AT&T came in and said, hey, we really want to win your business. We'll match that and we'll get you better. So
it's the same price as Spectrum?
it's an additional about $300. The reasoning for that is the additional equipment. So we'd have two sets of managed routers. So we're picking up that additional cost. So it's not a financial match. It's we'll get you the same service, but it's actually a little more reliable. Again, I'm gonna go look at the other technical person in our township, Captain Atkins. He actually prefers that because while it is minimal, it's better for the police department to have its own dedicated connection that's not shared. So that if we have to go through any form of auditing or something happens, we can say, look, the police department is on its own. There's no connection to anything else. Not that I would ever expect anyone from the town hall fire department to compromise the police, but now now they have two separate connections. There's no ties. Captain Atkins would like to continue with that. So that's in his opinion, which I also support. It's better to have two separate connections for the little bit of an additional cost.
So what's our monthly cost, 18?
The total will be $1,886.10 per month for both connections.
So Craig's gonna be paying $450 out of the 500. What are you paying right now?
You're paying 199, well, 50% of 199, because you're right, the other 50% is coming out of the general fund. So $100.
He's paying, so it's $350 bump. Roy, are you comfortable with a $900 bump to your budget monthly for this line?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this too, as a fall then, Chris and I, we met and discussed this and talked about the security features, speed features, so speaking from our perspective, we think it's gonna be, it's a necessary thing, so yes, we've had that discussion.
Because I know we've had discussion about budget, how when we ran the levy, it was to get to a certain point, additional costs are eaten into it, I mean, 900 is 2 cruisers that we could be paying for. And now we're picking up the internet, so I just wanted to make sure that you've had the discussion and you're comfortable with that.
I'm sure what do you do, the 2 cruisers?
I'm just saying, if we had, like, $900 would cover the cost of, potentially, the cost of 2 cruisers.
Well, and when we went through those budget numbers with this levy, we did not expect the gen increases of where we're at now, so those numbers are higher in the township, we expected a lot higher. So maybe those compensate a little bit for maybe the shortfalls and other stuff, but,
It's just a significant cost increase from 199 to
but I'm worried about the Joes of the world that are sitting in Brimfield Township that can break into our online system right now. I'm not saying you're gonna do that, Joe, but.
Right.
But I'm worried about that. How people are hacking everything now. I mean, they're trying to defend us all day long.
Well,
So,
And not that, I'm not gonna say it's, but if we did for some reason experience a large amount of growth on that side of Brimfield, again, cable internet is shared bandwidth. So let's say we do have a huge economic growth and Spectrum's not able to keep up with it, that's gonna slow us down. Whereas fiber is dedicated internet. We pay for the speed we get because we're not sharing it with anyone else. Whereas coax is shared. And again, as you brought up, I'm sitting in the exact same geographic area as our police and fire. So the new, I'm gonna use personal, I have 4 people in my house, we're big gamers. The new Call of Duty drops. It's about 16 gigs of data to download. So now all 4 of my computers are now downloading this large file, and police is trying to upload new crime photos or something. We're going to slow them down today. So if we had something that, where we have a lot of demand of data and Spectrum's not able to keep up with it, it slows everyone in that network down. Whereas if we did fiber, it's dedicated. We know we're getting the 500 because we're paying for 500. In addition, we're limited, no matter what we do with the download speed with cable, we're always being limited to 30 meg up. There's no way of moving any data faster than 30 on cable. And that's really where we need is the upload speed. Your phones are upload speed, sending files to the cloud is upload speed. Spectrum is, there's a limitation of how much bandwidth you can push back over coax. And as was brought up, eventually Spectrum is going to turn off their cable internet in lieu of fiber. So this is something that's going to happen eventually. I can't say if that's going to happen in 5 years or 10 years, but eventually we're going to be forced into it anyways. During a construction phase, now would be the great time to pull that fiber in, just install the right equipment at the right time.
So Craig, when I called you to talk about it, you hadn't talked to Joe yet. When you brought the first motion to the floor. Now that you see where we're at with the cost, how do you feel with your budget?
Let me jump in there and say, I agree with Joe. The question was, did I have a conversation? And the answer was, I had a minor conversation. I thought we were going to discuss options before coming back to here. It's okay.
Right.
You need to
apologize.
I get it. That was the question.
Yeah.
Well, how do you feel about it on the impact on your budget?
I mean, I think we have to.
I just wanted to make sure you guys said, because that was an issue.
Right. And I apologize. I didn't get back. I should have gotten back to you on that.
That's okay, I just wanted to make it that done, make sure that you have it on.
I mean, the amount of growth going on in our area is going to be intense, and like that those apartments are still going up along 76.
Yes.
How many more people is that going to be?
So behind the school, I think there's 103 units.
Oh, yeah. And that would be the same because we're split into 2 networks.
And then
That side of Brimfield goes into Talmadge, and the other side goes into Kent.
And then isn't there a possible subdivision going down along 18?
Um,
I know there's always been talk about it.
Yes, there's a potential one coming in, yes, potential. I mean, the developer it's the same developer as Hickory Creek. He's just, he doesn't like the new subdivision regulations, so I don't know if he's going forward. If he doesn't, another developer probably will, yeah.
Okay. You ready? Okay, you,
Sure.
I'm just asking, I want to make sure you're on board with that.
No, I think, like Joe said, now, if you're gonna do it now, it's time. Building's open, so.
I agree with that.
we make a motion that we go to AT&T fiber net connection for Brimfield PD and Brimfield Fire Department Town Hall at a cost of $1,886 per month. Need a second?
I'll second. John, can we just make a minor amendment to that the cost will be split 50% PD, 25% fire, 25% admin?
Second.
Okay, second. If you want to,
Yeah, second for the discussion to amend.
Okay.
so we have a more second.
No, I'm good then.
I appreciate you looking into it, Joe.
All those in favor, Mike?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. And if this helps a little, the other side of that is AT&T doing wireless. So I did have a conference call with AT&T Wireless last week with Captain Atkins. He was actually who brought this to me as he's been looking into AT&T and he thinks that they provide a little bit better service. So I reached out to our sales rep I'm already working with for the fiber side and said, hey, can we do a package deal? Unfortunately, AT&T Internet and AT&T Wireless, while they have the same name and same parent company, they are two divisions. There's no combining there. But again, AT&T as whole does want to get Brimfield Township's business back. So they came in also with a very competitive offer on the wireless side. And that actually would be a savings of $652 per month. So just taking our existing amount of wireless users, tablets, phones, whatnot, and moving that over to AT&T would save us $652 per month. The other side of that is that all of those lines would be in what they call their FirstNet. This is actually a demo phone. So what FirstNet is, after 9/11, the federal government realized that we have a large gap in communication. When a large attack happens, any form of disaster, everyone gets on their phone, they're trying to call their loved ones, they're texting, and it floods the network. During 9/11, that happened significantly. There was a lot of people that could not communicate. So the federal government decided they were going to create what they call FirstNet. It is a dedicated cellular network specifically for first responders. If you remember back in the days when you had your analog TV and everything got turned off and you had to convert to digital TV, that FCC bandwidth was called Channel 14. That was dedicated to this product. So there's a wireless spectrum that is now available that the federal government grabbed. Now they have leased it to AT&T for using what they call FirstNet. So it's cellular bandwidth that's only used for first responders. So it's not for community. So if there ever was an event, it'll never get flooded. And if for some reason it does, all your FirstNet phones would actually kick off commercial users. So let's say a tower gets taken out and that was the FirstNet tower. And we need to make a phone call. It will actually disconnect consumer cellular, so get our calls through. So all of our phones, tablets, and everything would be on their FirstNet network. So it would, if ever there was any form of event here in Brimfield or we're out and about assisting other communities, our police, fire, chain of command would be able to communicate wherever. If there ever was a large disaster, a tornado blows through, AT&T actually has a truck sitting in Akron that is a mobile cell phone tower that is only for FirstNet. So if there ever was a large event, they would dispatch that truck, they would put up their tower, and it would allow us to communicate. We can also, if we know about an event, so let's say we have the Randolph Fair, we can actually request that truck to be there. So if we're expecting a lot of things going on, we can actually put a request in AT&T and say, hey, have your FirstNet truck there. So we have access to that. So it's, you know, it's a great program. It's gonna give us what I feel better service than what we're getting from Verizon, and all that in addition to a savings per month.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion and then get a second so we can discuss
Yes.
it, okay?
So I'll second it for discussion then. How does this affect current equipment? Are we gonna need to upgrade, purchase new equipment?
Most of our phones would just be a replacement of SIMs. There is 36 older phones that would need to be replaced, and AT&T is going to replace those at no cost. So we have 36 phones that we have today, mostly the flip phones that are in the fire department, and those be replaced also with the same similar style, but still a flip phone, still rugged. One of the other things that is available to us if we elect to turn it on is a push to talk. So a lot of the industrialized phones, unfortunately, an iPhone would be an app. So I know most of our police officers and ourselves included, we tend to stick with iPhones, but on the rugged phones, or if we want to switch to rugged phones for police and other people, they have a push to talk feature that we could utilize. So there's some additional features on being FirstNet where you can actually do group push to talk. There's also, again, kind of like with the first alert, if we really wanted to, we can integrate our phones into our radio system. So let's say the chiefs decide they want to not have to necessarily carry a radio, they can actually get their radio communications via their phone. It'd have to be a specific model phone, but there is capabilities of integrating because we have a digital radio system, we can actually connect that into this network too. So we're not having to carry two devices. That's something that we'd have to look into because it'd be a cost of the equipment to bridge our radio system into the cellular. But you know, there's a lot of cool features that we could look into in the future if we went down this path.
What about tablets for the FD? Are they?
The tablets just have a replacement of a SIM card.
Okay.
So most of our equipment has been replaced recently. So it's just swapping SIM cards. There is most of our newer equipment is under a tier contract with Verizon. So part of the agreement that I negotiate with AT&T is that them buying out the contracts on our phones. So AT&T is actually giving us about $6,000 for signing the contract. Of that, $3,243 will be used to cover the early term fees from Verizon.
And that includes buying, so we'll own the equipment.
Yes, we'll be buying out the tier contract on any of the equipment that we currently do not have. And switching that over, none of the AT&T equipment will have any contracts. So this is being done with no contract to AT&T. AT&T does not require contracts on any of their FirstNet devices. So anything that we're getting from them or get in the future, it would be ours.
So no contract on the equipment, but a contract for the service, correct?
No, there is no contract for it.
So what stops the price of the service from fluctuating? Like, it's great that we had $652 savings, but is it gonna be the old spectrum?
I guess I would say there's no early term fees.
Okay.
There is a contract in the pricing, the agreement with that, but if we decide to leave, we're not charged any fees.
Okay.
I apologize, I guess I said that incorrectly.
And what's the terms of the contract? How long is that?
36 months of both internet and phone. Standard, anything in telecom usually is 36 months. Other thing that I'm recommending we bring up is right now we have Cradle Points in both police and fire as our backup internet. Those Cradle Points are older Verizon technology. They can be brought over to AT&T with a swap of the SIM card, but they wouldn't be able to take advantage of any faster speeds. So of that $6,000 or the balance, I'm recommending we replace both Cradle Points. That's $1,200 for both Cradle Points. So that would leave us, $1,699 for both Cradle Points. So that would leave us a balance of $1,270 in credits from AT&T. So even though they're giving us $6,000, most of that's being used for early term and then replacing the 2 Cradle Points. So we would end with a balance of $1,200 of the $6,000 that they're giving us.
What about service coverage area have we kind of explored?
That's why I have the demo phone. I just got this yesterday. So I have, we already know it works in the police, Captain Atkins has an AT&T device. He has a hotspot. So we already know it works in the police department. I've gone into I went next to the fire department with this. It works in the temporary town hall. And then I've gone to the other side of Brimfield, the Brimfield-Suffield border, where I know the coverage starts to lack, and it actually matches my current Verizon and T-Mobile phone.
I just want to make sure we don't end up with dead zones.
No. And the nice advantage of the equipment is even if we do go to a section that doesn't have the FirstNet towers, it will bounce onto the consumer. So as long as a AT&T phone works, we will have coverage. It may not be FirstNet coverage, it'll bounce onto the consumer side. But again, with the SLA we have with AT&T, if there was an event, we'll use the high school as an example. If something happened to high school and that is an area that doesn't have that FirstNet coverage, we would bounce off. Our phones would push off the consumers off the telephone. Their call get dropped. We would communicate. The FirstNet tower is that tower behind there by Walmart. So just to let you guys know, there are 3 AT&T towers in Brimfield, but only the one there by Walmart is the FirstNet tower. If we can say to them, hey, the high school is an area that we really, really want to have service, we can ask them to do a search. And if they say, yeah, that is definitely a dead zone, they have money allocated to build or outfit additional towers.
What about that new tower on Eady's property kind of saw go on?
That's a T-Mobile tower.
Does it still bounce off of that?
No, AT&T and T-Mobile cut ties a few years ago. They used to share towers, and when T-Mobile became a more predominant contender, AT&T cut ties with them.
Oh.
And so now there's a.
So if I'm not 100%, it doesn't bounce off that tower, it still bounces off something.
It's your AT&T has their towers by 76. So they're the one that's right there by the Ritztown Brimfield border. Then they've got the next one right there by Walmart, and then the next one's further into Suffield. So there's definitely most cell phone services have a gap right by Montgomery Reservoir. I'm sure you've all noticed when you get by Montgomery Reservoir, most companies drop. I think that was one of the reasons why T-Mobile jumped on that tower by EB's because it kind of covered that area. There's really not a whole lot we can do about that. From us leveraging that, since that's not Brimfield Township, I can't say, hey, we want coverage over here because that's not Brimfield there. Now, one of the areas I would like to go to is, I know the other side of Montgomery Reservoir where it connects up into Brimfield Road, that area before it becomes Ritztown. I'm going to drive up there this weekend and see what the coverage looks like on that section of Brimfield.
So do we need to hold this motion then so you get your full coverage done, or are you saying that you haven't checked everywhere?
I'm not really as concerned about it because I know the AT&T phones work there. I'm going to just cover it just from a CYA thing, just because I can get the demo phone. But I feel comfortable moving forward with AT&T anyways. I don't think the coverage is going to be a problem because it's going to bounce between FirstNet and normal AT&T cell phone towers anyways. So I don't foresee us having an issue with that.
Nick, you have AT&T or Verizon?
I have Verizon and T-Mobile.
Just wondering if other than that,
Yeah, like I said, I just don't want to pull the trigger and find that we have an issue because this is a major change of equipment. I mean, I think the savings is good. I think the plan is good. I just want to make sure we have the right coverage.
Yeah, I don't foresee them. I mean, from a topological map, when you look at their map of coverage, they showed they cover all of us between their consumer wireless and the FirstNet. It's going to be gaps in the FirstNet. And again, the only time that would become an issue, theoretically, would be as if there's ever an event that causes the consumer side to get flooded. So everyone's on their phone calling their friends or whatever happened. But actually, Ohio is one of only 2 states that allows AT&T to bump off their consumers. So in most other states, if you don't have FirstNet coverage, your SOL. Ohio, because of, I don't know why, but AT&T is able to push off the consumer. So
So your choice as the department or the head of the department is to make the switch?
Yes, I think it from a, we were starting to have some issues with Verizon. I know that's probably one of the reasons why the Captain Atkins was recommending AT&T. The new iPhones that are coming out are actually SIM-less. They have a digital SIM, and Verizon's really lacking on that conversion. We're having a lot of trouble when we're activating new phones for the new officers, when we're upgrading phones. Captain Atkins' phone, we actually got upgraded a couple months ago, and it took him almost a week to get it to work. He actually missed several SWAT calls because his phone wasn't working. So we are running into some issues with Verizon where Captain Atkins missed a few important phone calls because his phone wasn't working. And so that's a very big frustration for him.
My business is on Verizon, and we've had nothing but issues.
Yeah, there's something going on at Verizon. I don't know what it is, but their tech support's really lacking again.
I got my SIM card and said there's an internal SIM card and use that.
Yeah, they're trying to force everyone onto the internal SIMs instead of doing physical. And with the new iPhones, they're not having a choice with it. And for whatever reason, Verizon just isn't able to support that at the level they're supposed to. Whereas AT&T, if you go back far enough, AT&T was the original carrier for iPhone. It used to be you have an iPhone, you had to be with AT&T. So they're partners with Apple, here, there, and other. So there's not going to be an issue there.
Okay. Got a motion on the floor.
Vote on it?
I'm ready.
All those in favor, Mike?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Hey, sure.
Okay, and the last thing I want to do is just give you an update on the website. We did have the original meeting, went well. This week, I got the finalized timeline. So they gave us a preliminary high-level dates and ideas during the first meeting, but they took, a week to come back to us. And I now have the actual timeline, which I've shared with the internal website group. But just give you some highlights, our next meeting will be June 6th, which is going to be another discovery meeting. This is to go over some of the content that I've been providing them, just township pictures, pieces of the website that, here's the theme that we currently have. Here's some photos from the township we would like, and they're going to start working on creating a demo site or get an idea of what they're going to propose to us. So that's going to be part of this discovery meeting. The June 20th will be the first content processing of, okay, what content do we want on the site? Obviously we're bringing over minutes and notes and stuff, but what other things do we want on the site? August 22nd will be that design concept meeting. So they're going to provide back to us, here's a mock-up of the site of what we're recommending. And then the website, what they call the website reveal, that will be October 26th. That date got moved. Chief Mosley wasn't able to make the original date, so we had to move it to the 26th. But the meat and potatoes is the actual website launch is looking to be late November, early December. So probably into December for the new site.
All right. Let's move to cemetery here. So
Thanks, John.
thank you.
Okay. So do you want to talk about this?
Just a quick
That's why I was showing about it yesterday.
30-second blurb. Under the cemetery, Rochelle and the cemetery committee met. We meet once a month. And we have a revised, updated Brimfield Township Westland and West Lawn Cemetery rules and regulations. And the only two things we looked at that we really made any changes, we added into these regulations the columbarium. And we also said in there that the scatter garden, we're not going to destroy the scatter garden, but we're not going to offer it to people because there's very little activity going in there. And so anyway, that was a change in here for the scatter garden. And that was it.
So I believe, Sue, that all four of us agreed on that.
This is what you sent us.
Right, the board is myself, Sue, Rochelle, and Dave. I think we all, was in the
Right.
work that we,
And this is one of the things that in the committee that we all agreed on now.
Yeah, she explained it pretty good, so.
She did, it's really good.
So we'd like
She
to
did really
make a
good.
motion
to
to
accept the 23.
You need a motion that we accept it? Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the revised rules and regulations of the cemeteries in Brimfield.
And we'll second, thanks for doing that.
Any discussion?
Do we get any updates on chapter 517 of the ORC? Like, if there's changes that we need to put in here, how do we get that information, make sure it's up to Ohio Revised Code standard?
Well, we belong to the Ohio Association of Cemeteries. They get a magazine, and Rochelle is in contact with that group at the state level. And when things happen, they let us know.
So we're up to date with,
Right, and-
with ORC 517.
Right.
Unless they change something where we, so, okay, that's a good point, thanks. So-
Well, it's always a fluid document too, so if it passes.
Yeah, I just didn't know what that, because you know how the ORC changes all the time, just what that mechanism is to make sure we're compliant.
Well, I know that she probably hasn't checked it in the last month or so, so if something's changed since then, and we just have to.
Yeah, I wasn't looking for daily, it was something on a routine basis.
When we did this the last time, she had gone through that, so.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor, Mike? Sue?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Yeah.
The fiscal office has the amounts and rates for Portage County for the 2024 estimated budget. What we're doing is we're approving these. These come from the auditor. These are things that they're the amounts and rates, they're inside village stuff that we don't really have any choice on. Their estimated inside rates and tax revenues is 6.147,797 for 2024, which we would include our carryover balances and our estimated revenues into that to create the final budget portion. But this is the first amendment, official certificate of 2024. So we need to accept that. Well, 6,147,979 or 797 is their estimated taxes. But again, we have carryover balances from the prior year, and then we have any other revenue sources, so like life force management, gen dollars, those kind of things all get added in on top of the tax dollars that carry over to come up with our township budget. So,
This is tax dollars that come at the county level, all our levies.
yep, and that's their estimate on what they feel it is, so.
Is it up or down from 2023?
I don't know. I didn't double check on this. We had, last year we were at almost 12 million, or 23, almost at $12 million, and we had a huge carryover. We're probably gonna have a big carryover again. Jet Rivers went up, it's probably in the same ballpark that we were at last year. Total budget wise, I mean, because we had $500 and some thousand in other resources and adding carryover balances, I know that, so. Yeah, I don't know.
So there's nothing we can do to change it, I mean, this
No,
is
it's already
what
done.
it says it is, so. I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the amounts and rates. We need a second for discussion. We got a second.
Second.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing we can change on anyway, so,
No.
yeah.
It's there for just acknowledging pretty much my motion. All those in favor, Mike? Yes. Sue?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passed.
John, can I get a copy of that tax estimate form for that long sheet?
That, you want a copy of this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely would have.
Yeah, no, you don't need that, just like, you can just scan it or
You
whatever.
just have it, right?
Yeah, I did, but I just had to wait for you guys. But I'll fill this out and send a copy to you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, then we have an executive session, fiscal office personnel.
We have two,
Fiscal office.
actually, we have employment and compensation of public employees. There's two of them. Actually, it's all together one.
Stating May 17th, 2030, trustee might consent to move to convene an executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, section 121-22G for the purpose of considering the following matters. Employment for compensation of the public employee or official. Except as otherwise provided by law, the public body shall hold executive session for the discipline of elected official or conduct related to the performance of the elected officials, official duties, or for elected officials removed from office. So the public body holds an executive session pursuant to Division G1 of this section. The motion and vote to hold that executive session shall state which one of the following purposes listed in Division G1 for this purpose, of this section, or for the purpose for which the executive session is to be held, but need not include the name of the person to be considered in the meeting. Okay, so I need a second.
Second.
Is there anything in this?
You read this one, right, too?
Yeah, this one and this.
Okay, yep, those are the two. Okay. So you see all those in favor, Mike?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
So here adjourned, motion passed to executive session at 9:45.
So, hey, Nick, on that 90-day
Okay,
Okay, it's 11:40, we're out of executive session. There is no action at this point.
Okay, so entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor, Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
motion passed, you had to leave early. We are adjourned at 11:20. All right, thanks. Okay.